Phil the MMA Dude, back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 94, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, man?
Doing excellent, man. Happy to be back talking a loaded UFC fight week with you. How you doing?
Doing very well, So here's what we've got on tap today, folks. First, going to do an opening question for Fight Geek, then we're going to do a very, very quick recap and review of UFC Vegas 20. After that, it's time for the preview and picks for UFC 259, which is absolutely stacked. And after that, it's my favorite section, listener questions and more. But Fight Geek, let me start off with this question for you. So this week, Paulo Costa issued a statement about his loss to Israel Adesanya a little less than a year ago. He blamed it on wine. He apparently drank a bottle of red wine prior to the fight because he was having trouble sleeping, and then claims that he was still perhaps a little drunk, his words, when he was in the octagon. My question to you is, where does this rank on humiliating excuses in UFC history? I think it's got to be near the top.
Yeah, I mean, goodness, him and Deontay Wilder, they should get together.
Right?
I don't know. If this is the truth, I'm not sure that, I'd want to share it.
Definitely not.
That loss is stinging him so badly that, that he actually wants to share a story like that. That kind of shows you where he's at mentally. But I don't know, man. That was bizarre to say the least. I think it's kind of reminiscent of Forrest mentioning taking sleeping medication the night before he fought Anderson Silva and getting destroyed in similar fashion. So maybe there's something to it. But, whoever his handlers are and his management or his, social media people, whoever, probably should have kept that one within the team because it doesn't do him any favors.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't figure out, Fight Geek. I just kept looking at it and thinking, regardless of what, by the way, it's an insane story. If it is true, I've got to completely reassess the intelligence level of Costa because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's bordering on self.
A whole bottle. I mean, you never know, but it doesn't seem like a reasonable thing to do. But
right. But whether it's true or not, man, Paulo, why would you tell this story? This is just making you look terrible either way.
Well, doesn't that also, let your employers, Dana White, know that, if there's a huge opportunity in the future that you may not be professional enough to take it seriously?
100%.
He's obviously booked in a massive fight versus Whitaker, so that's kind of a moot point at this point. But in the future, is this something they look back on and are like, this guy, kind of, shit the bed in for lack of better terms in his biggest fight of his life. He still has a lot of career to go, so we'll see how that narrative plays out.
By the way, you didn't answer my question about where is it number one, because you haven't mentioned. There's one other in mind that I've got.
Far as worst excuses ever,
because Tito I shouldn't have even given it away. Tito's got a pretty bad one.
The Tito one with the cracked
skull. That is. That was
on the list of falsely claiming severe injuries. I think that would be the worst and by far the most unbelievable. I think that would be a little more crazy, but this is just, not good, for, not a good narrative to put out for a guy who's, in his prime, looking for big fights and still has a lot of his career left. Let's say he goes on a 4 or 5 fight losing streak or something. They can look to this point as like a really bad turning point in his career. So who knows?
Yep.
Strange to say the least that he would come out with that information this week.
Absolutely. And then, right before we jump into UFC Vegas 20, I lied. This is going to be a two-part question for Fight Geek Opener. We've got to cover the fact that Khamzat Chimaev appeared to retire via Instagram due to horrendous and continued complications with COVID-19. He posted a picture of what appeared to be him spitting up blood while trying to eat food. And then shortly thereafter, Dana White came out and said that Khamzat was not retiring and he was just being emotional. And then shortly after that, Kadyrov, I just know that's his last name, the controversial leader of Chechnya, he released a social media post basically saying that he called Khamzat immediately after and told him, how upset everyone was in Chechnya for his retirement and how he can't do this until he's won the belt. And he says that he then convinced Khamzat to unretire. And my question for you is, are things getting a little out of hand with Dana? This is now the second time in a few months that Dana is kind of forcing a fighter against their will, at least attempting to force a fighter against their will to not retire. First Khabib, now Khamzat. What are your thoughts on this? And is Chimaev done?
It definitely appears that, Dana has a vested interest in these guys clearly staying active. It's bizarre to say the least. Back to the Chimaev kind of story, what a bizarre week in MMA.
Mm-hmm.
With the Paulo story, this obviously huge card. I mean, if these stories are any indicator of the way this weekend goes, we could have some wackiness because who saw this coming? Just really strange. Right. Obviously, there's multiple steps to this story with, kind of looked like he retired and then Dana was disputing it. And then obviously, the
Chechen leader.
Yeah, that added a layer to it that, I don't think you would see in any other professional sport. So, right now I'm kind of like just to be determined, in my opinion. I
feel horrible for the guy. I feel terrible for Hamzat. I mean, this poor guy.
He's stuck in between a rock and a hard place at this point. Very, very strange situation. Not sure what's going on. Obviously, we just have a little bit of the story. Obviously, his health is clearly bad. But
well, we obviously wish him a very quick recovery, speedy full recovery.
One way or another.
Yeah.
So I really don't even know what to say until we get a little, more time and a little more development of the story, because today that was just bizarre to say the least, that it appeared that he wanted to retire and was unable to.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, with that, we are going to jump into our quick recap of UFC Vegas 20 Gane versus Rosenstrike. Gane versus Rosenstrike. Fight Geek, don't want to be too negative, but I was thinking about it. I think this is the worst card that we've ever had as a podcast duo since the Split Decision podcast came to fruition. Is that true, or am I being a hater? I can't think of a worse one.
I would say it was just the least entertaining card for me. It didn't have a lot of intrigue.
Right.
I think there was only one finish on the card. I don't want to say it's the worst.
There was only one finish on the whole card.
And that was actually the bright spot, Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, great performance. Actually, kind of stole the show if you look back at all the performances. So, yeah, it was not something you're going to remember. Excited that we have 259 the next week to kind of wash the stain off that lackluster event. But with that said, let's jump into it. Obviously, I picked Rosenstrike.
And
he didn't come to fight. Looked like a deer in the headlights from the first seconds on. The foot speed and hand speed of Gane was just way too much for him early, and he just really didn't have the fight IQ to implement any alternate ways to attack, which was surprising since he was quoted as saying that if it was a kickboxing match, he would win 100% of the time. And it turned into basically a kickboxing match, and he lost a landslide. So disappointing. Think he obviously, is suffering probably from a little bit of that Francis Ngannou knockout. Maybe he was a little bit afraid to engage because he was, had the disadvantage in hand speed and ate a couple shots early. Either way, it was a horrible performance. I would say it's maybe even a worse performance than either Francis and Derek Lewis, in my opinion, based on the fact that both of those guys can dead you with one shot. And Gane really doesn't look like that type of fighter. So I feel like there was times where, maybe Rosenstrike could have eaten a shot to give a shot, and he just never engaged that way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I thought it was I think that Gane got an unfair amount of the criticism. Dana really was spewing some venom at him after the fight, saying this was his, this was his chance, and he blew it. He won. Let's just leave it at that. And I understand that Dana's got a method to his madness with this. I understand why he says that stuff. It's really more to keep everyone else in line and let them know that they need to keep fights exciting and not just rely on boring strategies. And that's for the health of the business. But Gon was the one who only had 7 fights going into this and is 8-0 in,
Absolutely. Gon is 7-0, and he beats the number 4 guy ranked in the world. And not only that, but he shows a technical proficiency that we don't see out of any other heavyweight. Basically, he's obviously extremely athletic. He's like a clone of Anthony Joshua, just to look at him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. By the way, who's next for Gon?
I think it's got to be Volkov, doesn't it? It makes the most sense.
Oh, I thought Derek Lewis made a lot of sense too.
For who?
For Gon.
I mean, yeah, but I just don't think he's quite there yet with 8 fights, considering Derek Lewis. I mean, Derek Lewis is so advanced in his career. I know that so is Volkov, but I think Derek Lewis, based on having the win over Volkov, is kind of sitting in that next tier of heavyweights. So Volkov versus Gane is what makes sense to me. That could be a headliner. Yeah. And maybe the winner of that fight fights, Derek Lewis for a number 1 contender fight later on, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't dislike that at all. Yeah, I mean, I had 2 names in mind for Gon, right? I had Volkov, and then I had Lewis. So
yeah. I mean, those are the obvious names right now. But yeah, I mean, I think either of those work for him for sure.
And Jairzinho, just really quick, last word on this fight. Jairzinho, what are we to make of this? Because this was not like the Ngannou loss, right? This was a very different type of loss.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't take damage, but I think he just he's so raw in MMA that I just don't know if he's going to be able to beat those elite guys. He doesn't have the strategy. I mean, he was completely out-strategized in this fight. He couldn't figure out how to enter or land anything. Yeah. He could, his coaches were, begging him to at least come forward and engage somewhat, even if it was sloppy, engage a bit. But I think he felt that technical disadvantage and just never really even gave it a go. So I think it's a bad loss for him. It sets him back. Obviously, heavyweight is a wasteland, from like 10 to 15. So he could clearly go back and knock a couple guys out and be an interesting player again. But, he's going to have to definitely add some wrinkles before he's considered much of a threat.
By the way, you know what fight I love next for Jairzinho is, so he's now fallen to number 6 in the contenders list, and then Overeem is 7. I say run that one back.
Yeah, I hate to do that to Overeem, honestly.
I'd like to see him fight
someone who's more up and coming. Maybe, we were just talking about him last week, but maybe Dawkins versus Rosenstrike, or maybe Tanner Boser versus Rosenstrike, something like that.
Boser's not even ranked right now, which is a little odd.
Yeah, I think he took a bad loss in his last one, but Rosenstrike coming off 2 bad losses versus Tanner Boser would be someone's getting knocked out in that fight for sure.
Definitely. Okay, all right. So I really want to be real careful on how much more of this card we cover. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of go into?
Off the top of my head, not really.
Yeah. All right, and that's fine because we've got a lot to cover. So at this point, let's move on to UFC 259 preview and picks. Blachowicz versus Adesanya, Fight Geek. My first question about this card, seriously, is this the most stacked card on paper in at least 1 year, 365 days?
100%.
Yeah,
I mean, just as far as the names go, you have the prelims headlined by a former champion and all-time great. That's very rare. You got Joseph Benavidez on the prelims, who's a multiple-time title, challenger. Askar Askarov. I mean, you got multiple undefeated guys all over. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's stacked outside of the obvious, big names.
Yeah, absolutely. And so at that point, okay, so at this point, let's start at the top of the card. The main event. Woo!
What a fight. So
Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya. What a fight, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a fight that's grown on me a lot. Jan Blachowicz obviously is a late bloomer, but I think people are really coming around to the fact that he's a dangerous guy and he's got his, a good fight IQ and sticks to what he does well and has been really successful lately. So I think the intrigue here is a lot more than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
With that said, I'll dive right in. I listened to Israel Adesanya's interview with Ariel Helwani this week. I thought it was so intriguing that he's not really gaining extra weight. He's just going to come in at 195-ish. It's impossible to really tell what that'll look like because we've never really seen that before. So that'll be interesting to see on display. I think Israel will have, an extreme speed and quickness advantage. I think strategically, Israel is an extremely smart fighter. I think Jan's dangerous. The Polish power, definitely, if he gets his hands on him, could be problems. But I think Israel's going to be too quick, too smart, too rangy, and I think he's going to win a unanimous decision.
Wow.
And become the champ.
Wow. What an accomplishment that would be. So this fight is great. It's I'm really into super fights, and I'm very weird about the definition of a super fight. I believe that it has to be a champion of one division versus the champion of another. So, for example, like UFC 205, McGregor-Alvarez, that was a super fight. 226, Cormier-Miocic, that was a super fight. Nunez-Cyborg, that was a super fight. And now Jan Israel, another super fight. And I love those. And that's the definition of a super fight, everyone. That's not up for discussion. That's all it means. So
100%, but it also has to be based on, merit. If you look at who Jan Blachowicz is today, he's got the Luke Rockhold highlight reel knockout. He's got the highlight reel knockout of Corey Anderson. He won the belt by stopping Dominic Reyes. So Jan Blachowicz has proven that he's a serious problem at 205 and an elite fighter today. So that's what makes it a true super fight is that you got Israel, who goes without saying is, pound for pound top 3. And then you got Jan Blachowicz on the B side, who's a big, strong, dangerous, interesting fighter. I mean, that's what makes it a super fight to me.
Absolutely. So, long story short, Israel Adesanya is the king of feints. He's so good at feinting and creating traps off the feint. And Jan, fascinatingly, is, in my opinion, kind of the king of not falling for feints. If you remember, Reyes was trying to feint the heck out of Jan to get reactions. Did not work. And Reyes was kind of dead in the water from there. I'm going against my better judgment, and I am picking Jan Blachowicz via unanimous decision after knocking Israel down several times.
Israel down several times. Interesting. You think Israel at 10 pounds, maybe actually, if he says he's going to fight at 195 and Jan's close to 225,
and you're telling me his chin is going to just eat that no problem?
You think his chin is going to eat shots from a guy 30 pounds heavier than him and still be there to see the final belt?
I think that Israel's tough as hell, and I think that he's going to get badly, badly hurt and find a way to survive.
Wow,
and lose a unanimous
that would be
decision.
dramatic. I think it's going to be, very similar to kind of the Costa fight where he was extremely systematic and technical. I don't think he's going to put himself in harm's way
if
too often.
Israel toys with Jan as easily as he toyed with Costa,
I don't think
it's time to completely
I don't think he's going to
reimagine.
stop Jan. I don't think he has the power to stop Jan unless he were to hit him with a clean, head kick or something. But I do think that he can play the game for 25 minutes, be fresh, be quick, be in and out, like you said, with those feints. His feints are, if you're talking about Dominic Reyes feints compared to Israel Adesanya feints, that's like level 1 to level 100.
That's fair. Yeah.
So that Israel Adesanya will draw out reactions from Jan Blachowicz. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. Okay. Very fair. So should we move on to Nunez versus Anderson, the co-main event?
Absolutely. Now this fight is, seems like people are more interested in this fight than I thought. This looks like a landslide to me. I know people think that Megan has a,
It's pronounced
chance.
Megan, or she's going to block you if I'm going to tell her this.
I was the one who taught you it was Megan.
I know. Yeah, that's right. You were.
So, without getting too much into it, I think Amanda Nunes is going to close the distance and be the smarter fighter. I think it's going to be a grappling heavy attack because Amanda Nunes possesses that. We've seen it multiple times. We saw it versus Jermaine Durandamy. I think she'll dominate in the clinch. She'll dominate on the ground, and she'll have a unanimous decision. She may even have an opportunity to get a TKO stoppage on the ground, but I do see Amanda just controlling this with fight IQ and strength from the top.
Wow, I am shocked that you think Megan is going to survive 5 fives against Amanda Nunes. I mean, this ain't Felicia Spencer, bro.
I know, but Megan Anderson has obviously she was brought to the UFC for this championship moment. You know, this is like her career fight. She's in the best shape of her life if you've been following her training. Mm-hmm. She's going to have a good showing. I think she's definitely dangerous, and that's why I think Amanda will have to have a conservative grappling heavy attack to get rid of her.
I think, yeah, okay. I mean, very fair. I honestly am very intrigued by this fight because me included, I'm really underestimating Megan. I don't expect much from her at all, and I think that she should fight freely. She's got nothing to lose. A lot of people are saying similar things to you that Megan could surprise. I think that Nunes will viciously knock her out inside of 2 rounds.
Wow,
definitely.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I almost said 1. I was going to say 1.
Well, Amanda's never fought an opponent with this kind of range and size, though. I mean,
size? You mean, Cyborg is not exactly small.
No, I know she's not small, but she's not as tall and as rangy.
True, but okay, that's true.
It's going to be harder to get in there and hit up towards,
Me and you disagree on the importance of reach for a while. We always kind of have. You put more. Yeah, no, more importance on it than I do. It depends on who the
fighter is. If you understand how to use your reach, it can be an incredibly valuable tool.
But look at Stefan Struve.
Huh?
Stefan Struve didn't.
Well, exactly. He didn't know how to. But then you look at a guy like Volkov. He knows how to, and he's got 35 wins in his career at heavyweight.
Yeah, true. John Jones is another good example of someone who knows how to use their range.
The greatest fighter of all time knows how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So, all right, let's keep it moving.
Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah, this is kind of like the hipsters main event, isn't it? I feel like
to me, the hipsters main event is one fight below this
next.
one.
Okay. Well, Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. This is the fight we've all been waiting for. We've all been beating around the bush for it for about a year, so it's here. I believe in Peter Yan. I've been a big fan of his for a while. I've been calling his name even when we were talking about our favorite prospects, when we started this podcast. So I'm going to keep riding with him.
Fight Geek is actually annoyingly correct, guys. He has been calling out. He's been picking on for a while. That is true.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's one of my guys, and I think he stops Aljamain Sterling on the feet in round 3.
Ooh, man, this is such a. And now I'm just looking at this card is crazy. People.
Unbelievable.
This card is ridiculous. You'd be insane to miss this card, people. Insane. Yeah, I agree with you that if Jan's going to win, I think he's absolutely going to be knocking out Sterling on the feet. I think Sterling is gonna. I think he's gonna get to the back. I think he will. I don't think it'll be easy. I think he's going to do it in the 3rd round, Aljo by submission and new.
Wow. I mean, that would be interesting.
So we disagree on 2 of the 3 title fights, huh?
Well, you're taking Nunes. So, we're disagreeing on 2 of the 3 right now. But Yan, I definitely see Yan having a big advantage on the feet, especially after he settles in. He's a guy who likes to get warmed up.
Yeah, he's a bit of a slow starter for sure.
He really digs in and starts landing heavy shots. Good.
He's like Tony Ferguson in that way.
Say again?
Oh, I was just saying he's kind of like Tony Ferguson in that way, and that Tony's a very slow starter. Jan's kind of a slow starter.
Yeah, definitely got to work up a sweat and get loose. So, but it's going to be interesting. I think either way makes sense, but I just Peter Yan's the truth to me. I think that's a championship quality.
Well, I'm excited because I think I think this fight is all about finding out whether Jan's for real or not. I think a lot of people feel he was gifted that fight with Aldo for the belt, but now it's put up or shut up time.
But don't you think potential future title fights with Yan and Sandhagen and Yan and Dillashaw would be more interesting than fights with Sterling and Dillashaw? A rematch with Sterling and Sandhagen. I feel like Yan is the more intriguing champion.
Well, you could be right about that. I haven't given that too much thought.
I mean, Peter Yan versus TJ Dillashaw for the strap. Who does? If you don't want that fight, you don't like fighting.
Well,
because I feel like TJ.
You think? I mean, this is a whole different conversation. You definitely like Yan more than me. I don't think he's quite as interesting as you think he is, but that's kind of neither here nor there.
Well, that's just because he plastered Uriah Faber across the cage.
Wow, really had to go there, huh?
All right, let's keep it moving.
All right. So So you asked what the people's main event was. You said, "Oh, is Jan Sterling?" I think this next fight, I can't put into words how excited I am for Drew Dober versus Islam Makhachev. Guys, listen. This fight is so awesome. Am I
It is
wrong?
awesome.
Am I wrong? This fight is awesome.
Nope,
It's
Drew
amazing.
Dober is definitely rounded into shape.
Dober is not an easy out. Islam better come
he's got
ready.
massive legs. He kicks hard. He punches hard. He's durable. Islam Makhachev, I mean, we all know what he is. He's,
Well, we're about to find out what he is.
The wrestling, So I've gone first on the first three. Who do you got in this one?
Yup. I have got Islam Makhachev via a tight unanimous decision, 2-1.
Yeah, I see it that way too. I see, split decision even.
Yeah, very possible.
With Islam Makhachev, he's clearly going to be grappling heavy, so it's going to be a lot of defensive grappling from Drew Dober and trying to get back to his feet, stay on his feet, land big shots.
Drew's tough as nails, and I like Drew.
Yeah, he is. I just think he's going to have a hard time with someone of Makhachev's level of wrestling and grappling. He's going to be able to control enough of that fight to win a decision, in my opinion, too. But it should be interesting. Two guys who are definitely ascending towards the top of that division.
Yep, absolutely. All right, after that, man, the main card is nothing but fire. Unreal.
Right.
Santos versus Rayquich.
Yeah, this is the slobber knocker on the card.
Woo,
right here.
baby!
If this isn't a firefight, I don't know anything. I'm taking Alexander Rayquich by brutal knockout here. I think they're going to get into some wild exchanges, and I just think he's going to beat him to the punch. I think he's a little bigger. He's a little stronger. I actually think he's a little more twitchy than Thiago Santos. Santos, hasn't looked unbelievable since he's come back, in my opinion. And I'm high on Rayquich, so that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I've actually got to agree with you. I was so tempted to pick Santos. I like Santos. He's one of those fighters I just kind of like. The thing about Santos and a little bit of the shame with him is I just think that he peaked ever so slightly too late, and now he's working against Father Time, right?
Yes.
So that's the problem for him. So I do think Rayquich is going to win. I've got him by 3rd round knockout. I think Santos will have moments. I think it's going to be a slobber knocker, but I do think Rayquich is going to get that finish in the 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch, though. I mean, obviously, Santos has the ability to knock him out and to keep it, he's very dangerous on the feet, obviously.
Absolutely. Okay, so next fight we've got Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny. This card is so fire.
Is so interesting. So I'll let you go first here.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting fight. I totally agree. We've got number 12 versus number 15 here. Cruz.
I think people see the names and they're just like, oh, Dominic Cruz.
Right. Well, I think also, and I think a small part of that might be right. Casey Kenny's obviously now very infamously known for saying how ugly Megan Anderson was on a podcast about a month ago.
He didn't say how she was. He just said.
He said, like, I wouldn't sleep with her. She's like a 4 out of 10 or something, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, and obviously, Casey isn't exactly the most handsome guy on the planet. I'm putting that very nicely. He kind of looks like.
That's irrelevant.
He looks like he got run over by a car. Let's just be honest.
So you're saying because of this.
That's why he's unpopular. But I'm picking Kenny to win by stoppage in the 2nd round.
Yeah. See. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. He recently beat Nathaniel Wood. He's got wins over Ray Borg, Manny Bermudez. I mean, Luis Smolka. Casey Kenny's dangerous. And the last few times I've seen him fight, he's looked very good.
With a face only a mother would love.
Yeah, for sure. But he also kind of does a lot of the things well that Henry Cejudo does well, who just recently beat Dominic Cruz. So he's kind of a drugstore version of Henry Cejudo in a way. Is he not? Am I out of bounds there?
I mean, he looks like didn't Mac Malley say it well? Mac Malley said that he looked like a TJ Dillashaw jizz stain.
I don't know about all that, but what I do know is I am picking him in this fight.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but yeah, I'm taking him. I don't know if I can see him Actually, I see him stopping Cruz, TKO.
That's what I said. You're copying me now.
Well, I'm just trying to visualize the fight, So if this does happen, let's stop and think. What does Dominic Cruz retire if he gets stopped by Casey Kenny at this point?
I mean, he absolutely should. I would sure hope so.
Right. There'd be nothing left to fight for. Okay, now on the flip side, and we'll probably talk about this all next week, if Dominic Cruz beats Casey Kenny, does that make him a relevant contender again?
That's the $1 million question. That's what's so interesting here because Cruz is number 12, Kenny's number 15 bantamweight worldwide. I'm not that's why I was so surprised when this fight got made. But
outside of the rankings, him beating a guy of Casey Kenny's caliber at this point, I think would say...
Kenny's not even ranked in the UFC top 15, by the way. I just looked.
I understand that, but Casey Kenny's going to be a tough out. He's a tough fighter.
I picked Kenny.
So I'm saying that the actual seeing Dominic Cruz actually win against a young, tough, up-and-coming fighter at this point, I think... would say a lot, regardless of what his name is.
No, you're absolutely right. It would be a huge win, and then you could make Cruz versus
Well, the Cruz Dillashaw rematch is always there.
Ooh, yeah, you could do that. You could do Marlon Rice.
I mean, the Cody Garbrandt rematch is always there.
Oh, wow. Ooh, you could do him Garbrandt too.
I mean, yeah. I mean, at this point, we're playing with If Dominic Cruz wins, we're playing with house money. We got all kinds of fun old guy fights. So
I agree. Good call there. All right, so moving on, we've got Kyler Phillips versus Song Yadong.
Yeah, I like this one too. Should be a firefight. I'm taking Song Yadong on the feet.
I'm also taking Song Yadong. I hate when we agree. And this is a bantamweight fight. It should be noted. And usually Song Yadong is a featherweight. But I do think he's
Which means he's going to be big and hit extremely hard.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got him winning this one via TKO in the second round.
Another great fight. Benavidez versus Askarov. What do you got in this?
I got Askarov via unanimous decision.
Agreed. We could break this down forever, but yeah, I just see the younger, fresher guy. Joey B's career seems to be winding down at this point, in my opinion. So let's do the whole Dominic Cruz thing. If Joseph Benavidez loses to Askarov, should he retire?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I thought that this is his final fight. It might not be, but I just know that he said after the second Figgy loss, he said, I don't want to go out like this, so I don't want to retire yet.
Well, what if he loses this fight?
Well, I think he will.
I know. Well, he said he didn't want to go out on a loss, but then he's going against the number 3 guy in the world as a number 4 ranked guy. If he loses this fight, then he'd be going out on a loss anyways. Does that mean he's going to wait till he can fight Tim Elliott or something?
No, he'd be going out on 3 losses in a row.
Yeah, right. So if going out on a loss is the problem, I don't think he's going to be retiring with a loss.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he should retire after this if he loses, but if you're asking me, do I actually think he will? The answer is no.
Right. And if he wins, does that make you believe that he should be in the title contention again anytime soon?
Oh God! I mean, not if I care about him, and I do. I don't want him to get too hurt. I mean, I don't really care about him, but I care about Megan. I want Megan to be happy. So,
yeah. I mean, he did get waxed by Figgy
twice.
Yeah, brutally. So, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a long time before that happens. But does a win over Askarov give you any hope?
Well, honestly, the one thing I just thought of is the way that Benavidez could maybe get a miracle is if he beats Askarov and then Moreno beats Figgy at UFC 263, which I think it's been confirmed, in the rematch.
But then if he beats Figgy, that's going to be an immediate trilogy.
Well, I know.
So Joey B would have to wait.
I know.
100%. I mean, I would favor Figgy in a trilogy even. I mean, just because.
For sure.
Anyways, lots of what ifs, interesting stuff there.
Yeah. Next, we've got my favorite flyweight, Kai Kara France versus Rogerio Bantaran.
Yeah, tough one. I'm leaning France. Yeah, France has been a little mixed in his results lately, but he's still super sharp on the feet.
He's super solid. It's just that he lacks. It's almost like he's
the drugstore TJ Dillashaw. He's like.
Yeah, it's like he lacks. It's like he's got everything but the X factor. I don't know. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. He's always super crisp, but
he's crisp, but he gets out when he. I guess it's just I haven't seen him kind of improve fight over fight so much.
Maybe that's true.
Like you take Israel Adesanya, he looks like a different fighter. From every fight, it looks like he's leveled up 10,000 times. You know.
Well, that's true. But Kara France has been around a lot longer in MMA. He's got 30 decision or 30 fights, so maybe he's more of a finished product.
True. So, and I'm sorry, did you make a pick for this? Yeah,
I'm going with Kara France via decision.
Oh, I'm going with Bantaran via decision. Now I feel like a horrible fan.
Oh, well.
All right.
It's always better when you pick against your favorites.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinosa.
I do this to myself every time Tim Elliott's on the card, but I'm going to take Tim Elliott here.
Oh, you're doing it again. All right.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay with this one. Tim Elliott's a fun guy. I think this will be a sloppy, strange fight on the feet. I think eventually Tim will get some scrambles, and I think Jordan Espinosa may be the type of guy he can submit. So I think I'll roll with Tim Elliott via submission.
I got Tim Elliott via submission as well, much to my annoyance. I didn't think we'd pick the same one. Okay, Rick, really quick. Not too many fights left, and we can't cover them all, but did want to highlight Jake Matthews versus Sean Brady. This card is ridiculous.
Yeah. This fight's super interesting.
Super interesting.
I waffled back and forth for a long time, and I just kept leaning Jake Matthews. I don't think there's any discernible thing between him and Sean Brady. I just think it'll come down to experience. Jake Matthews has shown the ability to really gut out fights recently, look good. So with that being said, I don't know that Sean Brady, who's undefeated, has faced a level of competition quite like Jake Matthews yet, who's been in the UFC for a long time and has fought a lot of tough guys. And he's beat the Leech, he's beat Emil Meck, he's beat some good guys. So he's been around a long time. I think this will be Sean Brady's first real step up to, a top 15 level type fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. I might just be a big biased Sean Brady stan. I just like the guy. I don't know what it is. I just like him. And for some reason,
I like him too, but
yeah, for some reason I just really believe in the dude. I don't know why. I think his back tattoo of that Japanese demon is super cool. I've got him winning a unanimous decision.
Yeah, it should be a wild back and forth, high pace though.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so anything else we wanted to cover on this?
No, I think we can move on.
All right. So, guys, we will be right back in just a minute with listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 94, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek, and it is now time for my favorite section of all, Listen Up!
You went with the Axl Rose tonight. I like it.
Thank you. I was trying. I'm not sure it worked out well, but that's okay.
You have to be an 80s baby.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I am an 80s baby, barely. But,
well, I mean, you'd have to be an 80s baby to recognize it is what my point
I know. You're well into the 80s, baby. You're quite old, much older than me. My youthful good looks would never. But anyways, okay, do you got a question or should I go?
Yeah, I got questions.
Okay.
What, do you got questions? Who's got questions?
I got one. Should I go?
Yeah, go.
All right, this is from our man, one of the Split Podcast OGs, Eduardo. That's at Landa Crew. Guys, give him a follow. He says, Fight Geek, what makes Phil the best podcast partner? And same to you, Phil. What makes Fight Geek the best podcast partner? Hashtag AskSplitPod. Okay, so should I go first or you?
Well, first of all, who said you're the best podcast partner?
I don't know. I think Eduardo's jumping to some conclusions.
Well, if you would prefer to compliment me first, go ahead, Phil.
Okay, yeah. I think that man, I don't want to borrow the Mortal Kombat, that Luke Thomas show thing, but you're like my yin, you're like the yin to my yang a bit, right? I'm very emotional. I can be very dramatic with my takes. I can be a little bit much even for myself, and so I think that part of the reason that the show works so well, at least I hope you guys think so, is I think that Fight Geek is sort of the the grounded one. If I'm being overly emotional, he'll bring us back to reality. So that is, that's definitely what I take away from it.
Yeah, and I kind of piggyback on that. I appreciate that, Phil is, willing to be, outgoing, outspoken. He can be a lightning rod, but, that's not always a bad thing when we're looking for stuff to talk about. He's passionate. So, I would put it there. I would say Phil's passion for the podcast and the sport and what we're doing is really what makes him a great podcasting partner.
All right, this is great. I'm about to vomit if we keep complimenting each other.
Next.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Eduardo, but we don't like to be nice to one another.
Yeah. No more of those.
Yeah, seriously. Let's get that garbage. No, I'm just kidding. Eduardo's the man. Okay, all right. So question from Zanbando. Love him. That's at Zanbando99. He says, if Adesanya wins, will his next fight be back at 185? If so, is the winner of Whitaker-Till next? Hashtag AskSplitPod.
It says Whitaker-Hermanson.
He wrote, yeah, I know. Zan wrote Whitaker-Hermanson winner next, but they're not fighting, so I think he meant Whitaker-Till.
Oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, actually, I believe Adesanya in his recent interview mentioned that he is going to go back to 185 after this fight. So he certainly, at least based on his word, will go defend 185 after this fight.
And based on his word, I thought it was very interesting. He said that the only person that interests him in the division to still fight is Darren Till, so he really hopes that Till keeps winning.
That is interesting. So, yeah, there's that. You never know what could happen, depending on, what Whitaker looks like in his next fight. If he stops him,
I think Whitaker is going to whoop Costa's ass.
Yeah, so let's say he has a highlight reel finish, and he's just finished Cannonier and Costa back to back. It's gonna if Izzy wants to come back to 185, it's gonna be hard to overlook Rob, the former defending champion, at that point.
Oh yeah.
Especially when Darren Till has been had mixed results. It's not like Darren Till has ever really put together a sustained run at the top to really kind of solidify himself as a true, title challenger again. He's lost 3 of 4.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. At the same time, people who say that Till's just a journeyman, that's not true.
Say again?
I'm saying, I hear you, but I think there's a lot of people who say stuff like, Darren Till's just a journeyman who was at the right place at the right time.
No, he's certainly not a journeyman.
Because I think of the Whitaker-Till fight, and that was one of my favorite chess match fights ever. That was high level.
In the last 5 years, he's 5-3-1.
For sure.
He's not,
against top level competition.
He arguably lost to Stephen Thompson, so he could actually have lost 4 out of his last 5. So,
Thompson gives away a lot of close decisions because he's too.
Well, yes, it was a split decision win after Kelvin Gastelum had taken a metric ton beating. So Darren Till, there's a lot of holes in his resume as far as being a title challenger. Period. In my opinion.
Yeah.
There's just no way. If you look at his record, there's just no way to be like Darren Till should be fighting for the 185-pound belt without winning 3 fights.
Oh, absolutely. I think that I can't wait for his fight with Marvin Vettori coming up.
But with that said, he's certainly not a journeyman. He's a hard-hitting, young, aggressive guy. He has a lot going for him.
He almost beat Whitaker. it's important to note he gave Whitaker a ton of fits.
I
Whitaker
know, but
outclassed
he
him.
he almost lost to Thompson. I know a lot of people go back and forth on that, but
I know, but Thompson loses a lot of close fights because he's really chinny.
no, Thompson loses a lot of close fights because he's a strategic karate fighter.
Well, I think we're saying the same thing. He's a strategic karate fighter who loses close fights because he always gets knocked down at the very end. And then he complains that he lost the fight. And it's like, well, if you're going to be point fighting, you can't get knocked down. But anyway.
He has one loss in his career by knockout. I think calling him chinny's a little...
I just mean in terms of, you're right. That's fair. I meant in terms of getting knocked down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. You're right. He doesn't
well,
get finished.
If Tyron Woodley knocks you down after, 23 minutes of fighting him, that's not chinny in my opinion. But yes, we can keep him.
Hey, I was the one who was arguing very recently that they need to make Wonder Boy Usman for the belt next.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Let's not get too sidetracked. We still got some stuff to talk
about.
All
right. You got a question?
Yes, I got one from Eric Buchert. Isn't that how he said it? Buchert?
Oh, shoot. He told us last time, and now I'm scared that we
think it said Bookurt, so Buchert.
Buchert. All right. Eric, and if we screw up, Eric, let us know. Don't be afraid to let us know, and then, you can embarrass us, and then we'll make sure not to do it again.
He says, which belts do you think will change hands on Saturday night? Which of the 3 title fights do you think is most likely to end in a quick finish? Regardless of who wins, Jan, Izzy, should Glover Teixeira be next in line for the light heavyweight shot?
Ooh, I like that.
So there's 3 questions there.
I like that. Well, the first question we answered already, didn't we, with our picks?
It would be Izzy taking the 205 belt is the most likely, in my opinion.
For you. For me, it's Sterling taking Jan's belt.
Okay, and then which of the 3 title fights do you think is most likely to end in a quick finish?
Doesn't it have to be Nunes-Anderson?
Most likely.
I feel like there's a great chance that Nunes takes her out inside a minute.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely for a quick finish, even though all of the fights possess the ability to someone to get knocked out.
All of them. That's very true.
So, regardless of who wins, should Glover be next in line at lightweight? Probably yes, especially if it's Jan. If it's Izzy, I don't see Izzy at this point having much to gain by fighting a 40-year-old Glover Teixeira. So if it's Jan, yes. If it's Izzy, probably not.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I do think that Glover has to be very careful right now as well because there's a lot of action. There's a lot of fights that are booked with the light heavyweight top 5 to top 8, and he just needs to be a little careful. All I mean by that is if he starts getting too content to sit on the sidelines, he's an old guy who isn't necessarily probably not going to be viewed as super marketable long term by Dana.
I mean, imagine if Rayquich gets a knockout in under a minute or something crazy versus Santos. You don't think he'll be being talked about as the next title challenger?
Oh, I definitely do. I just think that, let's say that happens, right? I think that they will make Rayquich versus Glover.
For number 1?
For the next title shot. Yes, exactly.
That could be. I mean, imagine, let's say, imagine, Izzy wins and wants to stay at 205 and Rayquich gets a big knockout. Izzy versus Rayquich is a way sexier matchup on a poster than Izzy versus Glover.
Yeah, let's see how Rayquich does. You could be
right.
I'm
giving him a little bit too much credit right here, but
I think you are a little bit because, dude, that Rayquich Lionheart fight sucked.
Jimmy Manawa though, so it's not beyond
But Rayquich looked like I didn't like his performance against Anthony Smith at all.
Well, it was grappling heavy, which Anthony Smith has showed that's his weakness. So it's actually showed fight IQ. I understand it wasn't a highlight reel performance, but I actually thought it showed an extra wrinkle for the guy. He can win a fight where he's not using his fast twitch striking.
We could debate that for a while. I was shocked that he chose to take it to the ground when he was having so much success on the feet. So you say you say high fight
Smith
IQ.
Is actually, Anthony Smith, especially in the first round and a half on the feet, is really good. He's dangerous.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so that's not a guy you want to play with too long. Anthony Smith gets his hands on you and gets loose in the first 3 or 4 minutes. He can knock you out brutally with all kinds of different stuff. So, I think Rayquich, it was surprising that, he took that route, but I don't think it shows, weakness in his game. If anything, like I said, he saw, Jones and Glover and these these type of fighters, control Smith. What was it? Glover also? I can't remember, but
yeah.
At least
Glover
Jones
beat
controlled
Smith.
him.
Yes.
So I mean, that was a clear path to victory for him, and to be able to implement it, I thought it was impressive, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean that's very true. Look, I'm very much looking. I can't even put into words how excited I am for 259. I think it's one of the best cards in years, frankly, and it's going to tell us a whole lot about a lot of fighters. But okay, moving on to our next question. This is from a Split Podcast OG, and personally, one of my favorite people to take questions from, because I always know they'll be great, and he really can't get enough of a shout out, and that is Mr. Jalen Ware, and that's at Strive2B as in best, the letter _GR8, the number 8. Strive2B _ great. Jalen Ware. He says, if Islam Makhachev runs through Drew Dober, should the UFC promote him with Khabib obviously staying retired? Give him a top 5 to 6 opponent, have him challenging for the belt by the end of 2021? #AskSplitPod.
I love this question, and I have the best answer. Hopefully you agree with me.
Okay.
Obviously, if Islam Makhachev runs through Dober, that will be extremely impressive and set him up for a big fight. And how about this? If he were to run through Dober, give Islam Makhachev Tony Ferguson in his next match, and it'll kind of be like a substitute for the Khabib fight we never got. It would be like Khabib's little brother, the whole team versus Tony. Would that do anything for you?
Yeah, that would absolutely do something for me. I definitely don't dislike that. The other,
But you don't like the storyline of how Tony and Khabib never happened, and Makhachev could finally make those two teams square off in Khabib's place?
I do. I think that no, I do. Okay, so I'm looking at the ratings here. I mean, Islam's ranked 14. Dober is not ranked at the moment, which is kind of BS. Gregor Gillespie's 15. Are you kidding me? Dober is 10 times the man Gregor Gillespie is.
You need to update your cookies. I thought I saw Islam was 12 and Dober was 13.
I think maybe I do, bro.
Yeah, you're looking at the ratings from like last
Nah. No, I just updated my cookies. Absolutely not. This is all updated.
So anyways, Tony Ferguson off a 2-fight losing skid.
What about RDA?
Islam.
What about RDA?
You can't talk me out of Tony versus Islam.
I like Islam versus RDA.
Tony gets his chance to get back at that squad. Imagine if Tony darsed Islam and was like, Khabib, come back.
Oh God. I mean? Why are you is this what it's like? I think
imagine Tony dropping to his knees in the middle of the cage after darsing Islam.
Screaming, Khabib, come back!
I'm waiting!
Oh my God, Khabib might actually do it, I think.
Oh God. Anyways,
why are you torturing me like this? This is messed up, Fight Geek. This is the first fighter that I have loved except for Faber, but it wasn't as painful with Faber. This is like
we gotta find ways to get Tony to get his glory back. I think.
Dude, I feel horrible. I can't deal with his downfall. Like I can't handle it. I literally can't. Like I have to see a therapist.
It's not like the worst downfall ever.
I have to call a therapist to talk about this. Like I don't know how to deal with Tony's downfall. I can't.
It's good that he's taking a break right now and training.
Training with Freddie Roach at least. You see that?
Yeah, that's extremely interesting.
Which is weird because I'm not sure that his striking was ever the problem. But
no, but it's just adding extra wrinkles. And obviously, Freddie Roach has worked with, GSP, which probably holds a lot of weight with elite level MMA fighters.
No, I want Tony. Oh, man, I want Tony to come back more than anything. It's just that Charles fight, man. It's not the Gaethje fight that took the wind out of my sails. It's the Charles one. Yeah,
but again, was that Tony coming back too quick after a
probably
horrible beating after fighting? I mean, Tony's been through a lot physically in the last few years. That's why I say I like right now that he's kind of taking his time, waited out a little bit. There's no reason to be in a rush. That dude did all his work, on his 12-fight winning streak. I mean, he just needs to wait around for the right opportunities like Islam Makhachev.
Absolutely. You've convinced me. I think that's going to be great. I think that, how about this? I think the winner of Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober should fight Tony outright, even if it's Drew.
No, Drew Dober doesn't get Tony.
Whoa. So you're going to punish the dude?
I'm not going
beating
to punish him, but the
Islam?
storyline's not there. I just said Tony Ferguson's that he's done his work. He doesn't. The only reason he would fight a guy like Islam is because the storyline is so rich.
But if Dober beats Islam, he needs to be rewarded. Big time.
And then Dober gets to talk about fighting guys like Kevin Lee or, someone like
Felder, Dariush, Hooker.
No, not Felder, maybe Dariush, but at this point I don't think Dariush is going to look back to Dober. I would say, yeah.
I mean, people got to fight. There's too much these days. There's too much on what's it do for me. It's got to be a higher ranked. If everyone only fought higher ranked fighters, there'd be no fights.
Well, that's true. But hold on, I'll find out who Dober should fight next.
I mean, I'm telling you, man.
But Drew Dober versus Dan Hooker, if he wins, is perfect.
Yeah, I said Felder, Dariush, or Hooker.
Oh, okay. Well, you're just naming the whole top, 5 different guys.
I'm naming 10, 9, and 8.
Well, okay. I think I'd like them all, for sure. But
perfect,
I think Tony Islam, I don't know if Dober gets Tony. I just don't think his profile would be big.
Damn, you hate Drew Dober, bro. What's your problem?
No, I like Drew Dober. I just don't think he's getting a fight with Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I can't, guys, again, last point, I can't wait for Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. Oh my gosh, what a fight. Just make sure you don't miss that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But RDA would be good for both of those guys, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Okay, so have we answered the question from Luke, I think? That's I'm Luke, I think?
I think not.
All right. I believe this is a new listener, so thank you, I'm Luke, I think. He says, Adesanya has said he wants to fight again at 185, but, quote, has something else planned, end quote. How many fights and against who do you think it takes Izzy to be in the GOAT conversation, and how many until he could definitely be considered the GOAT? He is obviously far away from it now.
I mean, he ain't that far, really.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought.
What would it take for him to be the GOAT? Honestly, in my opinion, to have a real strong GOAT chance, he beats Jan Blachowicz in exciting fashion. I don't know what that looks like. And then he goes down and beats Robert Whittaker in exciting fashion and then beats John Jones at 205. Those 3 victories right there, him being 23-0, having beaten Robert Whittaker twice and John Jones, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. Realistically, do you think that John Jones is going to be willing to meet Izzy back down at... So let's say Jones... let's just say, assuming, that Jones fights the winner of Stipe and Ngannou, too, and loses to that person. Let's just say. He loses to that person.
Depends on how he loses. If he gets knocked out, he's going back to 205 for sure.
Let's say he gets knocked out, because I believe he would get knocked out.
You think if John's first experience at heavyweight is taking his first stoppage loss ever?
His first loss ever?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So you think...
Yeah, you're right. He will go.
I don't think he would... I just don't think that would be something he would go back to the well on. I think he would be like, okay, there's an undersized super fight waiting for me in my old division.
Yeah, I personally think, and again, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I personally think, Fight Geek, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that Jan Blachowicz at 205 is a rougher matchup stylistically for Adesanya than John Jones is. Because Izzy's not going to get knocked out by John.
That's true.
You can say whatever you want about John. You can say all the great things you want, but he's not going to knock Izzy out. He's just not going to do it.
No, he's not. But the thing about that is I'm picking Israel Adesanya to be the strategist or the more strategic fighter versus Jan Blachowicz. I would consider John Jones more strategic than Izzy and Jan Blachowicz. I think he's shown that over time. Until someone really dismantles John Jones, how can you say anyone's more strategic than him? He's basically held on to his title with, those little leg kicks and some random techniques that he's implemented. Like you said, he's not a knockout puncher. He's not a guy that institutes a bunch of fear into his opponents. He's a guy who comes in there with a game plan and usually, executes it, generally just enough lately to win. And I think that's a skill that Izzy possesses as well, and that's why I'm picking him over Jan. So, I think that John would still hold that over Izzy. He has the experience. Izzy's younger, more explosive, but he would have a huge size disadvantage. And John, whether you like to admit it or not, is an extremely intelligent fighter.
Oh, of course I admit that.
He's one of the smartest fighters of all time.
Again, I've said this before on the show, but look, people know I hate John Jones. At the same time, I know John Jones is one of the greatest fighters of all time. I'm a hater, not a fool.
Yeah, but he's one of the greatest thinking fighters. He's one of the greatest smart fighters. He's not Mike Tyson or Francis Ngannou. He's a guy who's had to think through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. No, I know.
So, I mean, that's really...
But isn't Izzy the kind of... I mean, that is such a great fight. That just needs to happen, doesn't it?
I mean, for sure. So what I'm saying is, back to his question, if Israel Adesanya were to run off Jan Blachowicz, Robert Whittaker, and John Jones in his next 3 fights, I don't see how anybody could look at that resume at 23-0 with names like Whittaker, Anderson Silva, John Jones historically, and not place him firmly in a GOAT conversation.
Oh yeah, I agree. And then obviously, the last part of his question, he said, what would it take to make it, for sure that he's the GOAT? And my quick answer to that, I'm paraphrasing him, by the way. The quick answer to that is win a 3rd belt. Look, if you win light heavyweight with Jan, and then you find a way to win the heavyweight belt, it doesn't matter who it's against.
If he's fighting at 195 this weekend at 205, can we stop talking about him being a heavyweight? He's not a heavyweight. He's not going to be fighting at heavyweight.
I would agree with you completely, but he himself has started to put it out there.
Well, I understand that. That's a great, soundbite for marketing. And John Jones is running. I'll follow him to heavyweight. I mean, that's a great thing to say. But, I mean, really going to go to heavyweight?
He fought at heavyweight in kickboxing, It's worth noting.
I understand, but there's not grappling in kickboxing.
Yeah, I agree. I understand.
So, I mean, I love it. I think if he comes, I'm not sure if he was trolling us or not, if he's really going to come in 10 pounds under the limit for the weight class, but I think that's absolutely fascinating. And I think if he does that, it'll show you that heavyweight is really not an option for him.
What's your final guess on his what he weighs in on? I'm so curious. I've got to guess.
I'm going to say 197.
Gosh. 196.
Actually,
you ruined it. You ruined it. I was trying to be dramatic by guessing higher than you. You ruined it.
I'm going to say he weighs in at 200 pounds.
Woo! Okay, yeah. So we agree that he's going to weigh in. Look, the point is, guys, he's going to weigh in over 193 for sure. Yeah. I would almost.
Well, he also said he was going to hit the saunas and cut weight, though, like he normally does. So.
He said that he's not. I'm sorry?
Well, he said he's going to hit the saunas, and he's still going to go through his normal, process of cutting weight, albeit I'm sure not as dramatic.
Why would he do that?
He said for the process.
I mean, if he's comfortably at like 201, why would you cut weight? But whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a very interesting part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't like I said before. We're gonna. I mean, we are going to really learn a ton about him this weekend. But do we have any more questions we haven't answered yet?
No, I actually think that's it.
All right. Well, with that, Fight Geek, take us away.
All right, guys. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We are at Split_podcast. It's 4 words, the Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.